Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grab a coffee. Let's sit down and go through the latest articles and news from Israel from the last few days and just touch on a few of those things. Mass bomb shelters and 80,000 meals. The IDF's plan for civilians in the northern part of Israel. The Israeli Army's Home Front Command, which is responsible for aiding civilians during wartime and other emergency periods, has been working on a program to provide solutions for the residents of Israel's north in the events of the major war with Hezbollah. They have too many residents, they have too little hotel space left and places to evacuate them to. They have to keep them in the area. So they are going to be building bigger shelters, prepping up with more meals for longer stays in the shelters and protecting the civilians while the war carries on in the north. So they are making some real pushes there to look after their people and show that they're on top of what lies ahead, and also that they know what the next step is post Hamas and Gaza. Gallant hints at assassination of Hamas leader. Defense Minister meets general staff leaders and says in apparent references the success in the death of Hamas number 3 in Gaza, Marwan Issa. The Defense Minister added that it is the third highest ranked leader in Gaza, and there have been success in the last few days, consistent and going in the right direction. At the same time, we have to take into account that there may be additional challenges before us, the most pressing, which is in the north. So again, touching on what we've already said, they're already preparing. They're so close to finishing up in Gaza. They're already preparing and moving themselves mentally to the operation that needs to take place in the north to deal with Hezbollah. Netanyahu hits back at Biden. I've got my own red line. Because Biden said, yeah, this is the red line with Israel. This is Netanyahu's feedback. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to recent remarks by Joe Biden on Sunday that he too has a red line. You know what the red line is? October 7 won't happen again. That's the red line. 100%. They cannot stop. They cannot let up because they never want to live through this mini Holocaust ever again. So they're going to ensure that they feel safe and secure by the time that they're done. Netanyahu, pressures won't stop us. Israel will finish the job in Rafah. It's not about if they're going to get permission or if they're going to hold off and not do it. They are going to do this in Rafah. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu berated Israel's allies, first and foremost the United States, for pressuring it to hold off on the planned ground offensive into Rafah. He also condemned the mounting criticism leveled at Israel, highlighting concerns about civilian harm and lack of aid to the Gaza Strip. Again, they're taking everything Hamas says at face value as truth, and everything Israel is publicly doing and documenting and saying they're taking as lies. A little bit twisted, isn't it? Hezbollah fires over 100 rockets on Israel and the IDF hits a terror drone. Alarms sounded in the Galilee at the Golan Heights. The first round of rockets contained around 30 rockets. The second round contained about 70. Rockets crashed reportedly in open areas near Kunia, Snir, Sha'ar, Yashuf and Kfar Salt. Hezbollah said it fired these Katyusha rockets in response to Israeli bombardment deep into Lebanon in the Bekaa region on Monday night. I'm going to put the video on the end of this video and you can see the rockets are just hammering the side of this mountain in this Israeli area. I mean, what did these ants ever do to you? I'm killing this ant, I'm killing that ant, I'm killing that ant. The amount of money spent just on these rockets, just to be flung randomly in the direction of the Israelis. Can you imagine for a moment if there was sanity and if people had turned to God in repentance and walked with Him from all nations, and they could use that money, those resources, instead of making rockets, they could be supplying people with food. They could be teaching them how to farm. But, oh, hold on. We're trying to stop the farmers. Anyway, don't let me get off on a tangent. Then this woman, Jordan's queen, says Israel had won October 7. Palestine has had 156. Now, before I even read this article, hello, Jordan's Queen. How many times has the world proven that Israel has 156 times put babies in ovens while raping the mothers and daughters, while slaughtering the children at music festivals, while doing horrific things to Holocaust survivors? How many times? I'll wait. Jordan's Queen Rania made a renewed call for the end of hostilities in Gaza, insisting that Israel had 1 October 7 and Palestinians 156. The 53-year-old royal, who was born to Palestinian parents, made the remarks on a CNN interview. She also made calls for the war to end, saying, as traumatic as October 7 was for Israel, it doesn't give the country the right to commit atrocity after atrocity. I don't remember the Hamas terrorists dropping leaflets and warning the Jews in all the kibbutzes that they were coming, that they should evacuate the civilians to the north so that they could come in and no one got hurt. Do you remember those? No, because that's not how it worked. The Anti-Defamation League, a body which targets anti-Semitism, responded to the interview on X, writing, Jordanian Queen Rania continues propagating false claims about Israel while diminishing the severity of Hamas' attack on Israel. In no way is Israel's war against Hamas, a vile terror organization that uses human shields, equivalent to the unprecedented October 7 brutal massacre. Especially during the month of Ramadan, we hope Jordan will play a constructive role in de-escalating tensions. No, they won't. The other thing to remember is that she's born to Palestinian parents, so very biased just from the get-go, never mind anything else. Israel destroying Hamas amidst international fury and skepticism. We are witnessing a massive ramp-up in Hamas disinformation in its 11th hour, directly wired into its supporters in the United States. The White House is truly flailing, said Richard Goldberg, senior advisor at the Washington, D.C.-based Foundation for Defense of Democracies. We can't secure our own border in America, but we can build a port in Gaza. Our military can't be used to actually defend the United States, restore deterrence against our enemies, enforce sanctions, or rescue American hostages. But it can be put to work building a port in Gaza. Twisted, eh? When someone just points out the obvious to you like that. Contrary to what some in the West believe, Hamas didn't kidnap the populations, but rather won broad political support and backing from Gaza's Palestinian public, who elected Hamas in the past and would probably elect it again, said Ben Shabbat. Unfortunately, sad truth. Years and years and years of evil education has done its work really well. Hamas is massively inflating civilian casualties. Now, this we've known all along, although the world takes all of this as gospel truth. A new analysis of death tolls in the Gaza Strip suggests the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry is massively inflating civilian casualties. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, a department of Hamas de facto government in the Gaza Strip, since October 7th, there have been 31,112 people killed in the coastal enclave as a result of the war with Israel. While the figures provided by the Hamas-run ministry have not been independently verified, they've been cited without caveat not only by Western media covering the war, but by foreign governments, including Biden. Most likely, the Hamas ministry settled on a daily total arbitrarily. We know this because the daily totals increase too consistently to be real. Then they assign 70% of the total to be women and children, splitting the amount randomly from day to day. Then they fill in the numbers as men set by a predetermined goal. This explains the data observed. They're going into it really in depth, but I don't want to spend a whole video just giving you that. Go have a look. It's ridiculous. The one day, it'll just be, say, 134 children killed. What, did they just hit playgrounds that day? No woman killed, No grown-ups killed. So there were no teachers, there were no mothers. Then the next day it'll just be the woman. Then it'll just be a few men again. And then confusion again. It makes no sense to anybody with a rational brain. Yes, there are casualties. Yes, women and children are unfortunately dying in this conflict. But the way they're pushing these numbers to gain support and sympathy from the West is so blatantly in your face wrong that it's ridiculous that people are not only believing it, but quoting it verbatim straight from Hamas's mouth. But again, it's not Jews, so it must be true. Cut to Guterres. You're biased on October 7 because the victims were Jewish. Yeah. The UN Secretary General is under fire by Cut, saying that the UN didn't respond properly to the October 7 massacre and invasion because victims are Jewish. Your reluctance to lead a decisive international stance against the atrocities committed by Hamas and its affiliated terror groups, and the fixation of criticism on Israel signals a distressing bias, Katz wrote in his letter. If the victims would not have been of Jewish or Israeli descent, your office would have responded in a much more vigorous way. Now, I think we've proven time and time again, and if you are watching anything on the news, you would know this is truth, that the United Nations and all of its affiliates and sub-organizations are superbly anti-Israel and anti-Jew. It is the way it's designed. It's like it was born to stand against Israel. That is its primary purpose. The Palestinian initiative to suspend Israel from the United Nations. Now, before I even read this, go for it. I personally, Sholto, think it would be a fantastic thing. Just close up the office. Why are we even talking to the UN? The UN hates your guts. You've proven that. The UN is always against Israel. We've proven that. No matter what happens to Israel, the UN doesn't care. They'll stand with anyone against Israel. So why be there? Why waste money flying there? Why even bother? Just call it a day. It's tough. If they want you out, go. Stand with God. God has got your back. Sources at the Foreign Ministry estimate that this is the path the Palestinians will want to take as per the N12 report. The fear comes amid leaks from political officials of the Arab League and following remarks made by Palestinian ambassador to the UN Riyad Mansour last week, where he says Israel cannot continue to sit among us. Whether the move succeeds or not, it is damage to Israel's image. A similar step occurred solely once since the UN was established, according to the report. In the 1970s, South Africa's participation in the General Assembly discussions was suspended due to the apartheid regime. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, said, if they really try to promote the suspension of Israel from the General Assembly, this would mean crossing a red line, and Israel will have to react sharply and take unprecedented steps, such as, and this is brilliant, closing the UN headquarters in Jerusalem, evacuating UNRA compounds, so that any country that considers supporting this move will know that it will only harm the Palestinian cause. So go ahead, kick us out. We will shut you down completely in Israel. Good luck doing anything after that. So again, Erdogan is really sharp and apparently afraid of no one. Palestinian FM Riyad al-Maliki accuses Netanyahu of prolonging the war to remain in power. Foreign Minister Maliki accused the Prime Minister of remaining in power in a statement to Arabic media on Wednesday. The comments came during a visit by South African Ambassador Shaun Beineveld to the Palestinian Authority's headquarters in Ramallah, because of course South Africa wants to stand with the enemies of Israel. He accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war, saying there are approximately 600,000 Palestinians on the brink of starvation. He also chastised the international community for not putting enough pressure on Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire, even though there's multiple cases and proof in multiple media outlets that Israel goes and Israel negotiates and Israel's asking for things that are completely correct, like give us proof of life of the hostages. Let us negotiate. Let's get this done. They even wanted to get it done before Ramadan. Who is the one saying no all the time? Hamas. Why is the international community not putting pressure on Hamas? Why? Ask yourself that question. Because the world right now stands with evil and therefore, by direction, Hamas. Deep breaths. Response to U.S. intelligence report: Israel is not a U.S. protectorate. The citizens choose their prime minister. Israeli official dismisses the assessment in the annual U.S. intelligence report that Netanyahu's viability as a leader is in jeopardy. Those who elect the prime minister of Israel are the citizens of Israel and no one else. Israel is not a protectorate of the United States of America and an independent and democratic country whose citizens are the ones who elect the government. We expect our friends to act to overthrow the terror regime of Hamas and not the elected government in Israel, the official stated. The annual U.S. intelligence report said the following: distrust of Netanyahu's ability to rule has deepened and broadened across the public from its already high levels before the war. We expect large protests demanding his resignation and new elections. A different, more moderate government is a possibility. That's what they want. So that is what they're saying. That is not the truth, and that is not what's happening on the ground. This is their interference, once again, where they should not be interfering. Right now, they should be helping. Gaza hostage deal. Hamas denies agreeing to United States proposal for a ceasefire. See again, Hamas, not Israel, Hamas. On Tuesday night, Al Arabiya reported that Hamas could agree to a modified US proposal for a second hostage deal and planned to send a delegation to Cairo to finalize the arrangements. Hamas denied it had agreed to a new proposal, stating early Wednesday morning, there is no truth to the news published by Al Arabiya attributed to a senior Hamas source about the movement receiving an international offer for an extended ceasefire in Gaza, the gradual return of the displaced, or a delegation heading to Cairo. We ask that the media ensure accuracy and credibility in reporting the news and not manipulate the feelings of our people who are subjected to Zionist aggression and a Nazi war of extermination, they said. They, the absolute liars and absolute perfectionists when it comes to using people's feelings and manipulating the media, they want people to report with accuracy and credibility and not manipulate feelings. You know, when you blame other people of something you're doing yourself, there is the perfect example of Hamas doing exactly that. Israel's record war budget approved. UK Defence Secretary blocks dangerous aid drops in Gaza. Defence Secretary Grant Shapps has prevented British aid drops over the Gaza Strip due to concerns about the risk to civilians. We covered that in a video a while ago now too, where the people died because of the aid drops. People familiar with the matter said that these challenges with supplies in a war zone were a factor. BP and the United Arab Emirates state oil firm has suspended a $2 billion bid to buy a major stake in Israel's new Med Energy as the war in Gaza upends politics across the region. Israel's parliament gave final approval on Thursday for a revised 2024 budget swollen by defense overlays that brings spending to an all-time high. Expenditure will total 584 billion shekels, $160 billion. So, hectic preparation for much bigger war lying ahead. The statistics. Now, I'm ending with this one because you need to understand this one, and this is just unfortunately the truth in the situation. The statistics currently show that Yahya Sinwar is still the king of Gaza, even in his bunker. A special analysis conducted by the business intelligence company Bateleur for Maarif shows that in the last 3 weeks, the general discourse on Arabic language social media in Gaza has been positive towards the Hamas terror organization in general and towards its leader, Yahya Sinwar. The data analysis showed the general discourse towards Sinwar as positive, a surprising figure since discourse on social media tends to be critical. The company's expert points out that it's possible to detect an increase in the positive discourse towards Sinwar personally when threats against him from the Israeli side come up. For example, after the IDF spokesperson said that fighters will get to Sinwar alive or dead, many reactions were seen on Gaza social media praising him as the one who surprised Israel, and despite all intelligence in Israel's possession, he's still in hiding. No conversation calling for the release of the abductees was found during the inspection. Alongside the positive discourse, many comments were found that blamed Israel for the situation in Gaza and wished for the destruction of the Zionist entity prayed for by the Palestinian people. They're not just normal civilians. They're all pro-Hamas or Hamas. They're all still 100% behind Yahya Sinwar, even though they use human shields, even though they brought this destruction upon the whole of Gaza. Still, they'll support them. Still, they see them as heroes. And therein lies the problems that Israel is facing currently. And the whole world is not seeing that. They're just seeing normal civilians. That is not the case, unfortunately. So again, we've seen miracles take place in Gaza where Palestinians have had experiences with Jesus Christ, visions and dreams, and they have come to the Christians and they've converted. We pray for more experiences like that, for the Lord to touch lives and change lives on both sides, that He will reveal Himself to them and just be there in this situation. Pray for Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Just trust that God is in control. And remember Genesis 12 verse 3. Genesis 12 verse 3, I will bless those who bless you, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Now how are we all blessed in Israel? We're all blessed. All the families of the earth will be blessed because Jesus came from that line. He came through Israel. That is what his path was through into this world. And through that, all nations are blessed through Jesus Christ, Yeshua, his blood that he shed for us on the cross, that we might be saved from darkness and brought into his marvelous light. So we bless Israel. We pray for Israel. And we are grateful that we serve a mighty God and Messiah, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who is coming again as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Keep looking up, keep watching over Israel, and keep preaching the word. Shalom.